Shalom Yasharallah Yahawah, Brother Malak, back with the biblical lesson breakdown. I'm a man of many gifts and talents, but there's nothing like the gift of prophesying. And it's been a minute, but whenever the Spirit is on me, I dabble into these prophecies. Revelations 19 verse 10, it says, "And I fell at his feet to worship him. And he said unto me, Son, or see, thou do it not. I am your fellow servant and of your brethren that have the testimony of Yahawahshai HaMashiach. Worship Yahweh, for the testimony of Yahawahshai is the spirit of prophecy." So that's the spirit of prophecy. The spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Yahawahshai Mashiach. And we're going to get into Yahawahshai's plight. Yahawahshai's plight. Let's start at Mark chapter 8, verse 31. It says, "And he began to teach them that the Son of Man is Hamashiach Yahawahshai." You know, whom the world, or the people in the world ignorantly call, Jesus Christ, or JC, or Jesus, however you want to say it. Mark chapter 8, verse 31, it says, "And he began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected of the elders and of the chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and after 3 days rise again." So that was Yahawahshai's plight. More so within that, his plight was to bring back the children of Israel, which consist of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians. You 12 tribes that scattered abroad. He came back to bring us back to that covenant. The covenant. James chapter 1, verse 1, it says, "James, a servant of Yahweh and the King Yahawahshai Mashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting." So that this is all wrapped in his walk, his journey, Yahawahshai HaMashiach's journey. Let's go with Mark 15. Mark chapter 15, verse 13 on down. It says, "And they cried out again, Crucify him. And then Pilate said unto them, Why? What evil have he done? And they cried out the more exceedingly, Crucify him. And so Pilate, willing to content to the people, released Barabbas unto them, and delivered Yahawahshai when he had scourged him to be crucified." Jumping down to let's jump down to verse 25, Mark 15, 25. "And it was the 3rd hour, and they crucified him." Jumping down to verse 28, it says, "And the scripture was fulfilled." The prophecy, Yahawahshai's plight, was fulfilled, which says, "And he was numbered with the transgressors. And they that passed by railed on him, wagging their heads and saying, Ah, thou that destroyest the temple and buildest it in 3 days, save thyself and come down from the cross." So they mocked him, and he was crucified with the thieves, which were transgressors of the law. What is sin according to the Bible? We tell you this all the time. What is sin? Sin is the transgression of the law. 1 John 3, 4. So whenever you go out of bounds with the law, that's when you are committing sin. And ultimately, when you really understand these scrolls, you know that the only people that can actually really sin is those under the covenant, under the blood covenant. So what people on earth was under the blood covenant? There was only one people that was under the blood covenant, and that is the nation of Israel. So truly, only the nation of Israel can actually, technically, really sin, because we're under the blood covenant. And this is why they hide and go through so much to keep you away from realizing that you are the Israelites. Mark 15:28 says, and the scripture was fulfilled with saith, and he was numbered with the transgressors. And they that passed by railed on him, wagging their heads and saying, Ah, thou that destroyest the temple and builded it in 3 days, save thyself and come down from the cross. So these devils mean deceiver. That's what the word devil means. It means to deceive. So that's what I mean when I say it. So these devils, they were mocking Yahawahshai Mashiach. It says, likewise, also the chief priests, mocking, said among themselves with the scribes, he saved others, himself he cannot save. So, they were mocking Yahawahshai Mashiach. And this was all part of Hamashiach Yahawahshai's, his journey, his path. It says Matthew 27, verse 18, it says, for he knew that for envy they had delivered him. When he was set down on the judgment seat, his wife sent unto him, saying, I believe this is Pilate's wife. It says, when he was set down on the judgment seat, his wife sent out unto him, saying, have thou nothing to do with that just man, for I have suffered many things this day in a dream because of him. It says, but the chief priests and elders persuaded the multitude that they should ask Barabbas or Barabbas rather, however you want to pronounce the God name. It says, and destroy Yahawahshai. It says, the governor answered and said unto them, whether of the twine will you that I release unto you? Which of the two do you want released? And the Israelites, and these had to be 2/3, because the 1/3, the 1/3 is the elect of today. The 1/3 is those that know the truth, the gospel, and that understand these prophecies, these scrolls. So it definitely wasn't the 1/3, the elect. It was the 2/3, those that's going to be destroyed when Hamashiach Yahawahshai returns. It says Matthew 27, verse 22. It says, Pilate said unto them, what shall I do then with Yahawahshai, which is called, it says Christ, but we know that's Hamashiach. It says, they all say unto him, let him be crucified. It says, and the governor said, why? What evil has he done? But they cried out the more, saying, let him be crucified. Dropping down to verse 26 of chapter 27, Matthew, it says, then released he Barabbas unto them, and when he had scourged Yahawahshai Hamashiach, he delivered him to be crucified. So, and then it goes on and so forth about how they continued to mock him, put the robe on him, put the scarlets, the thorns, spit on him, etc., etc. So this was Yahawahshai's plight, man. And, through the Spirit, this was something, a lesson, far as the spirit of prophecy. What is the spirit of prophecy? The spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Yahawahshai Mashiach. You actually have these Old Testament only Israelites out here. We call them Old Testament only Israelites. They don't believe in Yahawahshai Mashiach. They don't believe in the Redeemer. They don't believe in the one who came to save the lost sheep. Who is the lost sheep? The lost sheep is you Israelites. This is why you call yourself Christian. This is why you call yourself Muslim. This is why you call yourself science. You go into all these religions, Scientology, Jehovah Witness, Baptist, Catholic, etc. Some of you don't even believe in the Father, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahawahshai, nor the Son. You're atheists. So you will be considered the lost sheep. You are the lost sheep of the house of Israel and of the house of Judah. So that's what that is about. Let's go into it. James 1:1. It says, James, a servant of Yahweh and the Lord, of Yahawahshai Mashiach to the 12 tribes, which are scattered abroad, greeting. This is why they're considered the lost sheep, because they have been scattered. Scattered. This is why you are the lost sheep of the house of Israel. What people have been scattered? What people have been scattered across the lands? It's only, one people through the well, really, technically, two sets of people, you so-called Negroes and you so-called Native Indians and Hispanics. We have been shipped and transported across the nations, the land. That's secular history. That's historical history, and it all adds up with biblical history, and that's Deuteronomy chapter 28. Let's go into that. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse, we'll go with 68. 68 is pretty good too. It says, and Yahawahshai, or Yahweh rather, shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spoke unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there you should be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. That buy you means redeem. Verse 64, it says, and the Lord shall scatter you among the people, the Gentiles, the heathen nations. It says, from one end of the earth into another end, and there you shall serve other gods. This is why you call yourself Christians. You serve the cross, the wooden cross. You serve the cobblestone. This is why some of you Jakes, you Israelites, consider yourself to be Muslims or Muslims. Adam Akbar and Prophet Muhammad and all of that. You serve the cobblestone, you kiss the wall and whatnot. All of this is straight ignorance of who you truly are. And you are the Israelites of the Bible. You are the bloodline Israelites. So this is prophecy. All prophecy is fulfilled. The fact that the prophets are sealed and know that they are, the bloodline Israelites, and out there, teaching and preaching via either way, this is truly prophecy being fulfilled. So it is what it is. Let's grab some more prophecies, some more scriptures, prophecies. And when you try to tell people this too, man, even though Yahweh is waking up the people, I believe that's Matthew, what is that? Is that Matthew 24:10? Let's see, let's grab Matthew 24:10. Matthew 24:10, I believe. Nope, not Matthew. Yeah, Matthew 24:10, not 25, from 24:10. Matthew 24:14, that's what it is. Salak. Matthew chapter 24 and verse 14, it says, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. And we see that happening all over. So it's no coincidence that the children of Israel is coming back to their coming back to their glory, man, coming back to their glory, their rightful place. This is Mark 6:4. But in the midst of that, you still got people that don't believe. Mark 6:4. It says, but Yahawahshai said unto them, a prophet, because we would be considered prophets. What is a prophet? Let's go into what is a prophet, man. Prophet definition: a person regarded as an inspired teacher or proclaimer of the will of God. So that's what a prophet is. And that's what, I mean, that's basically what we are and what we do. We foretell the will of Yahweh Bahashem Yahawahshai through these prophecies, through these scrolls. So we would be considered prophetic, hence a prophet. Mark 6:4 says, but Yahawahshai said unto them, a prophet is not without honor, but in his own country, among his own kin, in his own house. But you still have naysayers, scoffers, etc., etc. I ain't gonna be too long on this particular lesson. But man, that's what the spirit of prophecy is. The spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Yahawahshai. And I just gave you a testimony of Yahawahshai, what he had to go through to basically regather the lost sheep, which is you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians of the 13, really technically 13 tribes, if we're counting the tribe of Dan. With that, I want to say, Kol Halam La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahawahshai, Bahashem Rakak Chadash, Barakda Yahweh, Bahashem Yahawahshai.